So the plan for today's video was for me to showcase the brand new boss monster Odd Eyes Arcray Dragon across a whole bunch of different replays. At least, that was the plan. Unfortunately though, it turns out the Master Duel player base is a little bit too stupid. Let me explain. So there is this trap card in the game called Solve the Supreme King, and what this trap card does is by paying half my life points, I can summon out Supreme King Xyz straight from the extra deck. Then, whilst the trap card is in the graveyard, if my opponent ever dares to try to activate a spell card, by banishing it and Xyz straight from the field, I can summon out the Dragon Goon Squad. But you see, this used to come with a drawback, and that is, if my opponent didn't use a spell card, Xyz would simply be returned to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. But now we have a solution for that. Arcray Dragon. This card can simply summon itself to the field by attributing Xyz, and since his name is treated as Xyz on the field, your trap in grave still remains active. And that was the interaction I planned to show off in today's video. But unfortunately, I was only ever to summon out Arcray a singular time. The reason is, every single time I use this trap card, bar one, every single other time, my opponent would use a spell card. Out of the 25 or so games I played this deck list today, every single time I used the trap, my opponent decided it would be a good idea to use a spell card. Nobody can read. So here's today's deck list. But, before we get into the deck list, apparently nearly half of the people watching this video aren't even subscribed to the channel. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content and think you want to see some more deck lists or more videos from me in the future, please do remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. Alright, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about the deck list today, as there isn't exactly anything new in here. It's just a stock standard looking Dinomorphia deck list, playing the Xyz trap card, and of course the brand new Arcray Dragon. You've probably seen this little combo with Dinomorphia before. It's a very popular combo for the deck, because this trap card, it halves your life points. Dinomorphia loves being low on life points, as the lower you get, the stronger your Kentregina gets. Additionally, this card also kind of protects your back row from things like Feather Dusters or Lightning Storms, all those kind of spell cards, because if your opponent does use a spell card, you summon out a trillion different dragons to the field. So it has a ton of synergy with the art type, and now it's gotten even stronger, thanks to of course the Arcray Dragon combo, which I just explained during the intro. So that's basically it for the deck list. As for little ratios and things that are different from maybe a standard Dinomorphia deck list, essentially I've cut Pot of Prosperity, and the reason I cut that card is because, well, I'm playing so many different cards in the extra deck that I now want to summon with the spell card. It seems kind of silly to just banish them for a search spell, when you could just play something like your Wannabees instead, which is essentially just a Pot of Prosperity but only during the end phase. So there isn't really much of a reason to run it if I want to play this many different extra deck monsters. Keep in mind, by the way, although my list is summoning out the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon, the Starving Venom, Predapower, Power Dragon, whatever the hell this thing's called. We've got your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and I've also got Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I'm going super overkill because I find it really fun with this trap card. You don't need to play this many different dragons with it. Summoning out just a copy of your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and a copy of your Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon is typically enough to sort of deter your opponent from using spell cards, and typically enough to just summon out things to the field, because the other ones are just gigantic bodies that actually just do not have an effect. You're just summoning them because it's fun to summon giant dragons to the field with one trap card. But if you want to cut them and just play some more different extra deck Xyz monsters, or play things like the that Chaos Synchro monster I've forgotten the name of that banishes your opponent's stuff, or SP Little Knight, you can play that stuff. But yeah, for me, I just want to summon out as many as possible because it's much more fun that way. Alright guys, as per usual, every single card in this deck list we typed out in the description down below. If there's any cards in here you don't recognise and you want to see what cards they are for yourself, feel free to check the description. And yeah, let's jump into some replays showcasing what exactly this deck list can do. So today I've saved 6 replays showing off all my opponents not being too bright and summoning out a buttload of dragons to the field with a singular trap card. Now keep in mind, all these replays were only gathered in Platinum. I've been very lazy over the recent months because, yeah, Snake Eye format is hella boring for me, so I've been sort of lazy on the grind front, been hanging around Platinum, Diamond rather than climbing to Master like normal, so That's why we're in Platinum, but at least it means the replays are a lot more fun. There was only, I think, one Snake Eye replay in these replays, which is good, and that was the first one, actually, so let's jump straight into it. So, like I mentioned earlier, only one of these replays is actually going to summon the Arcray Dragon, because I only summoned it once, and that'll be the very last replay in here. It was actually my rank up match, I think, to Platinum 1, so yeah, I have to wait and see what that card does, because I'll summon it in the very last replay. Alright, so going up against Snake Eye, and we're going second this time, and I think he was playing the Fire King variant. I don't think he set up the optimal infield, at least his infield seemed really weak for a standard Snake Eye field. Most are generally bigger than this. Maybe that is what Fire King stuff does, I don't know, but yeah, he set up not the most insane infield. We'll fast forward a bit because he takes 40 years to do anything. Alright. Just show what the usage rate of these cards are. 16% of all decks, great. Good to see nearly 20% of the ladder is just this dumb card right now. This dumb archetype. 30% of the ladder's using that card. Oh my god. Alright. And passing the turn. So yeah, surely this is not the typical infield this archetype's meant to go for. I really don't know what he was trying to set up here, but anyway. Alright. So we're just gonna set 5 and pass the turn. Super complicated turn. During my opponent's draw phase, gonna be summoning out my Supreme King Zerk straight to the field. It's much easier to call this card Zark than Zerk. He tries to summon this dude to the field. I'm just going to negate that. Promethean's the only card that's really annoying in this matchup, because it's one of the easiest ways for them to out your Dinomorphia fusion monster. So watch out for that one. It's generally good to save your negates for it. Not that I had the Dinomorphia fusion monster on the field at this point, but... And yep, as on the queue, my opponent decided, yep, I'm just going to use my Sinful Spoil spell card to summon out my opponent's 50 billion dragons to the field. Alright, and out they come. One gets a nice little animation, too. So, by the way, if you don't want to use Crystal Clearwing and you want to go for a monster negate instead of a spell and trap card negate, you can summon out the... Crystal Wing instead of Clear Wing. My opponent tries to use the Flamberge here to push my card to the back row. I'm just going to negate that. Yeah, because just need to summon out a Synchro Dragon monster with the name Synchro Dragon in it. So you can summon out Clear Wing Synchro Dragon instead of this one if you want to. Or Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, sorry. Alright, Dinomorphia Frenzy, going to be summoning out the fusion monster. My opponent just concedes from there. Yeah. And that was my average game today. Just a bunch of opponents who just decided, yeah, that big monster on the field, that trap card and graveyard, surely they don't actually do anything or mean anything. I'm just going to activate my spell cards. Right, to be fair, it is a very fun trap card, and a lot of people don't see it too often because it's not the most popular card around, but I find it so funny, actually. Just summoning out just a whole bunch of random-ass dragons. With only one that actually has any sort of decent effects. The rest is just a bunch of big bodies. Alright, so once again, start my opponent's draw phase, just summon out my boy to the field. His effects are negated, so don't have to worry about that. By the way, if you when this card summons itself to the field, if you did have some way to flip it face down, it would actually still nuke the field, which is a bit interesting. So if you had like a Book of Moon or something. A weird, it will never come up because we're not playing Book of Moon in this, but it's kind of funny to note that. And first thing my opponent does is activate a spell card. I guess to be fair, he's playing Pendulum, so he was kind of forced to. It was like, he had to activate it at some point. Nibiru being used. We have a negate for that, thankfully. Alright. Gonna be using my Brute and then pop this card so he can't use it for its search effect. Unfortunately getting our Clear Wing negated, which is a little bit annoying because it means we can't negate any other annoying spell cards he might have. Using my Clear Wing in response to his monster effect to essentially make it immune to monster effects for the rest of the turn, and then going to use my Dinomorphia Frenzy to summon out the Kentregina to the field. He can then of course summon out the other one as well. I think I used Kentregina basically immediately. Yeah, use Kentregina, summon out my copy of wherever he is. Rexterm. And I think my opponent just about concedes here because he can't use any monster effects. Alright. Up next. Yeah, this deck list is really fun. If you're a fan of Dinomorphia and you haven't tried out this combination yet, you definitely should. It is a very fun way to play the art type. Just summoning out a bunch of monsters just for free is just very silly, especially considering it relies on your opponent being dumb. Just makes it even more fun. Alright, really outs the typical ladder player anyway. I think my favorite one was, I'm not sure if it was this one or the next one. At some point, my opponent just decided to activate a crossout designator in response to an Ash Blossom. Just, yeah, nice crossout designator, man. Anyway. Grabbing the Ferret Flames and passing the turn. Starting off by summoning my dude to the field, up against the Runic. So, unfortunately for this guy, his entire deck is spell cards, so... yeah, he ain't gonna be... he's gonna have to deal with a lot of boys right now. So out comes the Zark. Going to be negating this so that of course he doesn't get the Search for the Field spell, which is basically their win condition anyway, so... as long as he doesn't draw it or get a hold of it, that's probably a good thing. I do love that Dinomorphia gets to use cards like Solemn Judgment and Solem Strike and stuff. Feels like those cards have just been out of favor for a long time. They really shouldn't be. They're such cool cards. Alright, banish the trap card from graveyard, of course, gonna be summoning out all the lads to the field. Let's just give animations to all of these, just so I get an animation for each of them. Alright, summoning out my fusion monster, of course. Kentregina. Then, because that trap card was given to the field off of the Honeybee, I have to send it to the graveyard then to turn anyway, so I might as well use it to remove his one monster. That's the only downside of this Wannabee, is that you lose the trap card during the end of the next turn. Alright, he's going to try to use their Wannabee 1. Thankfully, I do have a negate for that, or that would have been terrifying. Then summons out Synchro Zone, which for a lot of decks is a pain in the ass. But thankfully, this card's actually a Synchro monster. So although this thing stops all my monsters from attacking, it doesn't stop Crystal Clearwing from attacking. This locks you into only attacking with Synchro monsters. It's so dumb seeing this card seeing play, actually. Alright, and it's very, very slow and painful death for my opponent, unfortunately for him. Tries to use this card, I'm not going to negate it because I don't care. Summons out, activates this card, and we are going to negate that one because it might actually be a problem. And since he hasn't activated this thing in like 5 turns, I assume it's just completely dead weight. God knows what it actually is. And yeah, he's just dead on field. Get him out of here, filthy Runic stun player. Alright, up next. Red. I hope I saved a couple more replays, or at least one more replay be going second with the deck. This art type can go second, it just feels a lot worse obviously because you're playing a trap deck going second. But it can definitely go second, as we showed in that first replay. Because you just set 5 trap cards, if your opponent isn't like a back row removal deck specifically, they're probably not going to remove them all. Then if you can ever get out your Rexterm, your opponent can't use any monster effects of what they got in the field, so it's generally okay going second, but obviously much, much better going first. Alright, Wannabee looking for a trap card off the top. We hit a Sonic, which is pretty good. Sonic was basically the trap card I wanted on the field anyway. Or maybe I didn't, because I wanted to use Soul the Supreme King. Probably would have gone for Monster Negate if I could have. Alright. Gonna use Maxx, and in response, my opponent decides to cross out Designator. I mean, I guess letting Maxx resolve was probably pretty bad for him. Maybe worse than me summoning all these dudes to the field, but... yeah, I don't know about that one. Out come the lads. That is so much stats, actually. How much is that? What, 3, 6, 9, 12? 12,600 worth of stats from one trap card. Alright, gonna be negating the spell card. And here's a funny little interaction you might not have noticed. This card actually does have an effect, which you're about to see in just a second. So we summon out the Rexterm, and then his little dude in the graveyard tries to use its effect because it was sent to the graveyard, the Dotscaper, but it gets negated because your Brave Eyes actually negates the effects of cards with 0 attack, wherever it is. Oh yeah, negate the activated effects of ones with 0 attack. And the reason this is actually a relevant effect is it stops your opponent being able to use Ash Blossom. So your trap cards, which are normally very susceptible to being Ash Blossom before you do your fusion summons, are actually safe as long as you got this card on the field. So keep that in mind. I actually don't know if any of the other replays I might have forgotten. I can't remember if I tried to negate an Ash Blossom in any of these replays, but yeah. It is a cool little interaction seeing this card be able to just negate Ash Blossoms on will. Alright, opponent's going to summon out a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, he is under the Rexterm, so he can't really do a whole lot. I think he just concedes in a moment, actually. I think he realizes that... Yeah, he tries to summon out the Laplacian. I don't know if he's never played against Rexterm before, but he realizes, oh, it can do nothing. We even have Misc in hand, so if we did somehow manage to try to wipe the field, activate Misc, and my cards are immune anyway. At least my dinosaurs are. Alright, up next. Yeah, Miscellaneousaurus is actually really, really good in this deck, especially if you're playing lots of copies of the Search spell, which searches for dinosaurs. Because you've already got copies of your main normal summon, you just search for Misc, and then you have a way to make yourself immune to whatever else. Makes your normal summons also immune to things like Imperms or Veilers or that kind of crap. Up against Purrely, and I don't think this guy played correctly either, or just didn't have enough resources or something. Because he didn't set up the level the rank 5, whatever it is, on the field. Rank 5, I actually don't know what rank it is. The big guy, it's just immune to everything anyway, he didn't set it up. We do actually technically have an out to the big guy in this deck. We have Ferret Flames, because this card forces your opponent to put the cards in the deck, so... Ferret Flames is technically an out if you can get it on the field and have it survive without your opponent shuffling it into the deck or whatever the big dude does. But it's pretty hard to do, because you basically have to gamble on your opponent not removing it during your end phase. And then still trying to win afterwards by having a trap card on the field that does something. But thankfully my opponent didn't really set up anything. He just attached some cards to some Drewsome cards. And we just got to set and pass. Yeah, somehow he didn't actually manage to get this to the big one, or didn't have the trap card or something. I don't know what happened here. Either way, we're going to use Soul the Supreme King. I'm going to negate that Maxx. The reason we negated that, by the way, is because I have 2 copies of Solem Strike, and the chances of me ever being able to use both of these after I've used the Frenzy is basically 0, because I won't have enough life points to do so. So I'm just going to use them whenever I can, because otherwise I won't get any value out of it anyway. Alright, because normally you don't care about Maxx in this deck and it's not worth a negate, because you only summon like twice if you really have to. You also only summon once if you have to, just summon the Frenzy and that's it, just summon out your Rexterm pass. Alright, Solem Strike going to be negating once again, actually a very good negate this time though. The 4 material Noir just completely gone. Alright, once again my opponent used an effect, and I forgot to turn off my alerts again. God damn it. Ignore that. Let me just beat my alerts now. Alright. Out come the boys. Still got a Ferret Flames left, and still got my Frenzy left. Alright, he's going to attempt to add a card to hand. I'm now going to summon out my negate. This actually doesn't do a whole lot versus the smaller monsters in this deck, because they all have very, very low attack stats. Even lower than my 500 life points, by the way. It's going to get even lower. I have 250 life points, and his monsters still have lower attack than that. Actually impressive, honestly. Alright, 250, going to be summoning out my boy. My Rexterm. Alright, I'm going to be trying to negate his spell card. Unfortunately, he has an Imperm for that, which is a little bit unfortunate. 250 life points is actually kind of scary versus this deck, because I'm pretty sure they had the Lyrillist card that can hit you in the face directly. I'm not sure how much attack that has, but thankfully he healed me up a little bit. If he got me super low and then just hit me in the face with that Lyrillist, that would have been very scary. Nibiru was actually drawn then. Thankfully I have a way to defend my dinos, but all these guys are about to be turned into one really big token. There he is. 13,100. Alright, now he's got the trap card. The fact this card was actually playing so much through this through the field we have was actually kind of crazy. I guess, like I said, Rexterm doesn't really do a whole lot versus the Archetype, but anyway. Alright, not going to use the effect of Rexterm just yet. We're going to wait. Going to wait till I use the effect, then I'm going to reduce my life points low enough so I can use the trap card and send this thing to the graveyard. As well as the Nibiru as well. Alright. Gives you a bit of life points. And it's actually, I believe, still able to get another level 1 on the field. Maybe this guy had some of the play here if he had more time, but I think he times out here actually. Don't know what he could have done, but maybe the Lyrillist thing could have tried to go for, I don't know. But yeah, he timed out, he ran out of time. He spent too long trying to clear that field, and he lost. Alright, if he even had a way to out the rest of it, I doubt it, but he might have. Alright, the replay you've all been waiting for, the entire purpose of this video, is coming down to one replay at the end. Up against a Labyrinth player. We're finally going to see the brand new card. The only player who decided, maybe I shouldn't be using spell cards, versus the card that really enjoys my opponent using spell cards. Alright, Maxx right off the bat. Fossil Dig going to be searching for the miss, because of course we have the normal summon already in hand. Searching for the Intact, and passing. Wannabee, of course, going to grab a card off the top. Hits the card we're looking for the replays, so we grab that thing straight to the field. And there it is, Solve the Supreme King. Alright, instantly gonna activate it so my opponent has any annoying spell cards. He's deterred from using them. Normal summoning Ariana, we're just going to negate that. Not really much else to negate in this archetype because he has a lot of chain blocking stuff as well, so it's probably best just to negate the search for the annoying stuff. And then summon out Rexterm, which makes it really hard for him to use his monster effects anyway. And if he has any annoying trap cards for removal, we can just use the Miscellaneousaurus to prevent them anyway. Alright. And these two become the Rexterm, and we pass the turn. And finally, we can actually turn this card into the big boy. Out he comes. Oh, the entire video for 1 millisecond of animation. Alright, summons out Silver Castle. Don't care, you can't even do anything anyway. I'm going to send it to the graveyard. He's going to pop my Rexterm in response, which doesn't really matter because it can just summon a card back from graveyard anyway. I believe I wasn't allowed to respond when I missed here. Yeah, your opponent can activate monster effects in response, so I wasn't actually able to use Misc in response to this stuff. But once that card was off the field, my Misc was available again, so... I can summon out the card from the graveyard, bringing back my Kentregina. And my opponent concedes. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I do apologise for there being literally only one Arcray replay in the entire video. I did want to get more, but my ladder opponents were too stupid. I literally started at what? Platinum 4 today, ended at Platinum 1. I played like 25 or so games and just could not get opponents not using spell cards, but hopefully you guys enjoyed them all the same. If you did, leave a like, subscribe with that kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.